Hello, everyone. This is the first episode of the T-Rex podcast, and today our guest is Professor Carnotaurus. Good day, Professor.
Hello, T-Rex. Hello, audience.
Could you tell about yourself?
I'm a carnivorous theropod, about 8 meters long and weighing roughly 1.5 to 2 tons. I can't be more precise. I don't weigh myself regularly.
You are in good shape.
Thank you, you too. All right, no jokes. I'm a professor of biology, I'm interested in paleontology, and I really love science fiction.
That is why we've gathered here today. We'll be discussing your latest book, Life of the Future. It quickly became a bestseller and has generated a lot of buzz. So please tell us a little bit about it.
The thing is, we know quite a lot about the modern forms of life. Also, thanks to fossil remains, we know about ancient forms of life, the species of animals and plants that existed before us, before the dinosaurs. However, we know absolutely nothing about how living creatures will appear in the future.
Yes, that's really interesting. We can only dream about it.
Yes, the future is hard to predict. So many factors influence it. And though for this book all our knowledge of the past and the modern world was used, computer models were developed, including artificial intelligence, we still cannot claim that it will be exactly so.
This book is not a scientific manual in the usual sense. It's my way to escape from reality and fantasize a little about the future. So don't take it too seriously, but at the same time remember that it's based on science.
And that's what I call true science fiction. In the first chapter of the book, you describe two possible scenarios. Tell us about it.
That's how it is. In fact, there are many more possibilities, but I've grouped them into two groups, which I believe are the most probable. The first option: nothing truly extraordinary is happening on Earth, and we, dinosaurs, and all other life forms are slowly evolving over millions and millions of years. During this time, our appearance could change so fundamentally that I, you, or anyone else from our current era won't resemble our descendants.
It would be interesting to look into the future and see them. And what about another development option? That one sparked the most discussion.
And the other option is very dramatic and sad. Don't think I'm a pessimist, but I believe it's the most likely.
What exactly is being discussed?
We're talking about the next mass animal extinction.
This is very sad. I hope it does not happen.
However, in Earth's history, there have already been 4 mass extinctions of animals. The last of them paved the way for the development of dinosaurs. Life on the planet, so to speak, was reformatted, and we, dinosaurs, began to dominate on Earth.
This topic is raised from time to time in science fiction works and films. What do you think caused the extinction of the dinosaurs?
This particular question also presents many options. Scientists include among their hypotheses viruses, volcanic activity, sudden climate shifts, radiation from a supernova explosion, and so on.
I don't find any of these options appealing.
Me too. My personal opinion, which I laid out in the book. The main cause of the next mass extinction will either be terrestrial in origin, some volcanic hyperactivity leading to a sharp climate change, or extraterrestrial. For example, the fall of a rather large meteorite.
The meteorite scenario sounds like a ready-made script for a sci-fi movie.
It's unusual for us to hear about this as we don't encounter it in daily life. For us, meteorites are just a small flash in the night sky. However, it's important to note our planet was bombarded by cosmic bodies since its very creation. For instance, Earth's collision with a protoplanet which led to the Moon's formation.
This is very interesting, but how did it happen?
When the solar system was just forming, there were more planets than we know today. Their orbits could overlap, so they would collide occasionally. Their debris formed the asteroid belt. So one of these ancient planets, which we call Theia, collided with Earth. Fortunately for us, the collision was at an angle, so our Earth was not destroyed and the Moon formed from the debris. By the way, in our opinion, the Moon played a significant role in the emergence of life on Earth.
Intriguing and dramatic.
We must also remember that one theory for Earth's water origin is the planet's bombardment by comets. Just look through a telescope at the Moon itself. It's completely scarred. It's covered in meteorite craters. Enough meteorites also fall on Earth, but we're lucky they're all small. Our calculations show this meteorite needs to be roughly 10 kilometers wide to cause dinosaur mass extinction.
It sent shivers down my spine. What happens next?
And then small, resilient creatures will survive and give a new impulse to life's development on Earth. I think that among land animals, it will be small lizards, birds, mammals, cockroaches, definitely, and so on.
So you think the era of dinosaurs' dominance will end and others will take our place?
Yes, personally, in my book, I bet on mammals.
On these strange little furry creatures.
Yes, exactly on them.
It's strange to hear that. During my morning runs in the forest, I'm always looking down so as not to step on or crush any of them. And in millions of years, these little creatures will rule the earth?
I guess so. We will disappear. This will open their way to dominate the planet.
Interesting, very interesting. So let's move on to the most important thing, to future species.
All right, let's talk about a creature that, in my opinion, will become the dominant species on our planet. I've given it the name human.
The human. What an interesting name.
I thought that was a fitting name for a small, two-legged, furless creature.
Yes, she looks very unusual. Personally, the first thing that catches my eye is the long forelimbs, a dream of every T-Rex.
Yes, I let my imagination run wild.
Let's discuss the human in more detail.
In my opinion, mammals like Eomaya or Hadrocodium could eventually lay the foundation for the development of a large group of animals that will dominate the Earth in the future. As you can see in the illustration in the book, human is an upright creature with quite long upper limbs devoid of fur and has a rather large head.
The dominant species of the future will have neither fur, like the Eomaya, nor scales, like us, nor feathers. Sounds just fantastic.
I allowed my imagination to run wild. Just kidding. In my opinion, humans will walk on their hind limbs just like us. They will use their front limbs for grabbing prey, gathering plant food, and so on.
Do you think she will be omnivorous?
Yes, that's very much probable. It's definitely easier for omnivores to find their food, but the primary distinguishing characteristic will still be their head, or to be more precise, their brain. It will be considerably larger than our own.
Well, that's fantastic. It's hard to believe that anyone could have a bigger brain than ours. But you mentioned at the beginning that this human is small in stature.
I'd say about 1.5 to 2 meters in height and 50 to 100 kilograms in weight. Of course, these are all just approximate figures. Some individuals might be a bit smaller and lighter, others larger and heavier, but they won't differ significantly. Walking upright imposes certain limitations. With such a body structure, a person would experience excessive strain on their musculoskeletal system. If, for example, their height were 2.5 meters or more, and people 10 to 15 meters tall or even larger are simply impossible because their skeleton just wouldn't withstand such a load. So the sizes of people, compared to us, would be quite small.
So, are you suggesting that human will be a small creature, but with a big brain?
Yes, for some reason it seems to me that in the future, the focus will shift from size and strength towards intelligence. I mean the dominant species. At the same time, I do not exclude the existence of gigantic species of animals, especially in the water, where gravity does not impose the same limitations as on land. However, we must remember that evolution has no consciousness and no ultimate goal. So intelligent life, to me, is merely one of many possibilities. Throughout our entire existence, we, the dinosaurs, true giants, manage perfectly well without a big brain. But I'm a dreamer, and I truly want to believe that someday, if not us, then at least the future inhabitants of Earth will be able to travel through space and visit new planets where perhaps there is also life. And for that, a big brain is absolutely essential to create the necessary technologies.
That's an interesting thought. I would like that too.
But I want to emphasize once again that evolution has no goal to create intelligent life. It has no consciousness, so the emergence of intelligent beings like humans is just one possible outcome, one of many probabilities. The same applies to life beyond Earth. I want to believe that we are not alone in the universe, but this question still remains open. Perhaps, if not us, then humans will one day answer it.
What else is interesting about these humans? So what's with their skin after all?
I like the option without fur, and even more so without feathers. The mammals known to us are quite small. Fur helps them with thermoregulation. For a human of her size, this wouldn't be as necessary in a hot climate. Moreover, I assumed that in certain areas, like on the head, hair would still remain, perhaps to attract members of the opposite sex. And if the climate changes, she could make herself something like artificial skin from available materials. After all, she has upper limbs free from walking and a large brain.
Great combination! What about the color?
It just came to my mind, imagine this situation. Millions of years will pass, and these future humans will find our ancient remains, and they will be, just like we are doing right now, debating the topic. Were dinosaurs covered in feathers? And what exact color were they? We can't predict the color for sure, but I think it will mainly vary from light tones to dark, depending on the sun's activity in a given region where humans will live.
What about the options with stripes, spots, and various bright colors?
Anything is possible, but in this aspect, I will be more reserved. I think that thanks to intelligence, a person can artificially make their appearance more vivid. For example, to attract humans of the opposite sex, or conversely, to be unobtrusively camouflaged for hunting.
And this dominant species will give birth to offspring, not lay eggs.
Human, yes. I think they will give birth to 1 or 2 children at a time, take care of them, so this will promote survival. Coupled with intelligence, this will allow humans to eventually become numerous and dominate the planet.
Unbelievable. I've got goosebumps again. It's strange to hear that we won't rule the earth, but some small but clever beings, without fur and without feathers.
This might not even happen unless a big meteorite comes our way.
Well, let's certainly hope for that. All right then, our podcast time is now coming to an end. It was very interesting to hear Professor Carnotaurus. So if you enjoyed it, please hit the like button and subscribe. I believe we'll meet him again in one of our future podcasts. Thank you very much, Professor.
Thank you too, T-Rex. Thanks to the viewers. See you.
See you again on the new podcast.
Hi everyone, you've just watched the first video on my channel about dinosaurs, and the person who leaves the first comment "I like Carnotaurus" will get a shoutout in the next video. See you! And here I am, the real one. You've just watched the first humorous video on my channel. Next they will be more serious about different dinosaurs, and I hope we will meet again in the next videos. Bye!